There's 5 reasons why I love you and none of them rhyme. 9 times 9, 81, Bonnie and Clyde. We got high and sat by the Wellington side. I had one hell of a time, it's rock and roll to life.
Welcome to the Green Tea, Freedom and Truth channel. This is Tristan. It's good to have the Green Tea team back for this Wednesday, the 23rd of September edition of the video log. Today we are blessed and very happy to have Antoinette James, the Advance New Zealand Public Party candidate for Taupo here for an interview. She has been she's been doing some very good behind the beehive videos on YouTube. Some of them have, I would say, gone viral, which have been very popular. She is also a published author of many books, both fiction and non-fiction. 3 titles in home education. Yeah. And also this book here, which was this released last year?
Beginning of 2019.
Beginning of 2019. We Are Revolting. And I join others from around the world pushing back the tyranny of globalist technocracy. That sounds like a great read. So you are also a mother.
I am.
Yeah.
I have 6 children.
Well done, well done. Yeah. And she is standing for the Advance New Zealand Public Party as a candidate for Taupo. So Antoinette, what drew you to want to stand for the Advanced New Zealand Public Party? Well,
having written We Are Revolting, I understood the geopolitical tyranny that's even at the door of coastline of New Zealand, and I was really just pulling my hair out leading into these elections, wondering whether I'd even vote for the first time being an adult, and really worried about the future of my children. A friend sent me a video of Billy's, and initially I thought, no, another minor party, I won't worry about that. Another friend sent me the same video and I had a wee look at it, and for me straight away it was a no-brainer. We had found a party with policies that were, you know, by the people, for the people, of the people, and more importantly, making sure that we have a democracy and that we are not a globalized country, but an independent, sovereign country. So it was a no-brainer.
Yeah, yeah. And my feeling is too, I think a lot of people appreciated the way Billy was speaking, really calling out those UN agendas or the COVID-19 Health Response Act, the overreaches of government powers and that type of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, and in a language that wasn't overly politicized. It was just straight talk to the people.
Yes. Yes.
Is that did that resonate with you?
Yes. Oh, definitely. Yeah. You know, we've even before the COVID pandemic, I was very aware something big was about to happen. As I was talking to you earlier on, we started a little micro farm and grew our own vegetables, raised our own meat. Because I knew something was happening, didn't realise it was going to be a pandemic, but when it hit, I thought, well, there it is. So, and so when Billy was talking during that COVID lockdown of the overreach of our government, and for the first time in the history of man, we locked down the whole world, or at least the Western world, you know, it raises a lot of questions and rings a lot of warning bells.
Yeah, definitely. And as we now know, the first 9 days, possibly longer, was an unlawful act by the government on the people.
That's right.
Yeah. And we've been hearing quite a bit about Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030. And I think the average Kiwi person who maybe doesn't quite understand what these unelected agendas, these non-binding agreements that countries sign up to, how they affect people on an everyday level in their day-to-day lives. So would you just share a little bit about what the agendas are?
Yes, well, Agenda 21 really is the narrow part of an hourglass, if I can use that illustration. It's built on decades of other documentation, and if you can think of all that documentation being sand in the top of the hourglass, and the Agenda 21 document, which is sizable, made up of feel-good words and lovely words like sustainability, which no one can deny is a wonderful way to live. But what people do not understand is the United Nations definition of sustainability, of resilience, of stakeholders, all these Agenda 21 words is quite different than how we, the average person, interpret those words. So as all these documents go way back to the 1960s, some of the secret societies and the elites are in documents like Iron Mountain Report, Our Common Future. Iron Mountain Report was a leaked document. We weren't supposed to see that, but Our Common Future is definitely Marxism 101, and that's the first time we hear sustainability. So we have hundreds of documents up in that top part of the hourglass of little grains of sand, and the actual document of Agenda 21 is almost like some kind of processing machine, and then out the bottom the sand falls, and that's all the documentation that really are national documentation, because the United Nations say think globally. That's all that big deposit of documents, many of them lies and fake news, come through Agenda 21, and then we need to act locally. So we have untold documents that are riddled through our communities and councils, saying how that Agenda 21 is going to work out for us in real time, and we see that today with the knockback on farms, the squashing of farms, the over-regulation, and even in every electorate. In our electorate here, we're now seeing all our water is going to be moved up and controlled centrally in Auckland. That's all part of United Nations Agenda 21. Total control, as if somehow that sustainability can only be made if it's controlled in Auckland. So it's word trickery, and people need to understand that.
Yes. I was just mentioning to you before that I was speaking to some people, yesterday and a few days ago, and they like the wording of Agenda 21, the way it is quite utopian and sounds like something that would be good to strive for.
Yes.
But underneath that, the fluffy words and the word salad, there's the
utopia. You can just look at, for example, the French Revolution, any revolution. The idea of power to the people sounds wonderful, but the average person doesn't understand that those above that are choreographing this whole revolution, or as Jacinda Ardern says, with us, we're transitioning as a country towards having Agenda 21, Agenda 2030 totally rolled out. That's a whole different beast, and it puts us, we the people, with no control, and it destroys the middle class. So it'll be the elite, those that rule and govern, and there'll be those that are ruled and governed. We'll be the peasantry. And in fact, Agenda 21 and the biodiversity document talked about us as peasants. There was such a human outcry, particularly in America, that perhaps a little bit more awake, that they removed that wording. But there it is. They were bold enough in the 80s to put that wording in.
Yeah, thank you. And I also really liked in your Behind the Beehive, you referred to it several times as global communism.
It is. Yes, Alana Johnson, she's a lecturer and author and a speaker. She grew up in communist Romania. When she got to America and started to see some of these things rolling out, she now speaks about that, and she says this is global communism. She lived it in her own country, and now she's seeing it rolling out across the West from the United Nations down.
Yes. And what is Advance New Zealand, the New Zealand Public Party, looking? What is their stand on these agendas that New Zealand has signed up for, and Jacinda Ardern has said that she would like New Zealand to be the first country to have these sustainable development goals rolled out. What is the Advance New Zealand NZPP's stand on?
Well, our stand's pretty straightforward. It just means, firstly, we need to be an independent nation, and we need to be a sovereign nation. Once you have those two, as Billy says, like the bread and the sandwich, everything else falls into line. So if we have our independence, we may want to listen to United Nations suggestions and their ideas. Doesn't mean we're closed off to the rest of the world, but it means we, as an independent nation, have the choice whether we want to sign into these agendas. And as a sovereign nation, the United Nations or any outside dictate, whether that's the NGOs, which is a United Nations made corporation or whatever, it's a construct, United Nations construct, that these non-governmental organisations that we haven't voted in have the enormous say in the country.
Yes,
and
yes.
If we are a sovereign country, we can actually say, well, no, it's us, the people, that have the say. So that's basically Advance NZ's stance. And once you have those two as the bread, then you can fill in the filling of the sandwich with making sure we have a true democracy and not the sham of a democracy. Because in New Zealand, we think we're in a democracy, but we're not. We're in a corporate fascist society, really, where the big corps are telling us how we need to live, not our government who we elected. They're no longer our servants. They have a prior commitment to the United Nations and a prior commitment to the NGOs.